Welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, James explains how he's doing so far in the grant experiment, describes his spreadsheet, talks about his sources of information, and generally gives us a good idea of how things have gone. Okay. Hey, James.
Yes, Pat?
So, we've both been engaged in this grant experiment for about a month now.
Yeah.
It started August 16th and it's now September 20th. Can you give me a little update on what's been happening for you?
Well, as anything, and I think people who do what we do, there's always lots of stuff that you feel like is a great idea and you want to hop on and totally nail, and then trying to find the time to do it is always a trick. And so I think the first update is, it's been a trick to consistently find the time to make progress. However, little bits add up to big bits, and so I have done some progress. I've identified, I don't know how many grants that I want to apply to, or I feel like are in my zone, and I think there's a lot more that I can find. And I quickly realized that it's more than 4 or 5 or 10.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty big list, and that and they all have different fees, requirements, due dates, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
so that quickly led me to, I need some way to track all this stuff. So being the lazy or looking to save time person, I went online and there was lots of people who wanted to sell me stuff, but then came to the realization that probably I could save myself $10 or whatever it is they're going to charge for grant tracking apps and documents and spreadsheets and one thing and another, and just do it myself.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've done. And I've just got a simple Excel spreadsheet where I have the grant title, fees, contact info, due dates. Then for when I send out applications, application status, the date I submitted the application, the amount that I'm requesting, or if it's going to a writer's retreat or some other kind of where it's not a monetary thing, being able to list what it is I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
Then their reporting date, when I should expect to hear back. Then, because I'm delusional and the eternal optimist, I have amount received. And then the last is notes. And it's really interesting how unique many of these grants are in terms of what they're looking for. And there's a lot of sort of niche and nuance and that kind of thing. So one is one that's dedicated to science and technology. You need a letter of inquiry, and then if they agree with your letter of inquiry, they're gonna invite you to submit a full proposal, which I think is mostly a book proposal, which is kind of cool because that's something I feel like I've got a pretty strong grasp of as compared to a sort of a free form grant proposal that isn't actually a form where you fill out headings and that kind of thing. And so I've got links to be able to find their facts, where they describe what they're looking for and how things work, and the kinds of projects that they really try to focus on, and that kind of thing. And then the other thing I noticed, there's lots of little small grants. There's some bigger grants. Some of them have very specific due dates, like October 1st of this year. Some of them are rolling or monthly. Like one of them's the Awesome Foundation.
Yeah.
Which is rolling and monthly. So I think that context setting that you've been talking about when in our first segment on this is where I'm still at. And I haven't sent out an application yet, but I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm understanding the process better just by engaging in the process.
Yeah.
Yet information gathering and doing homework. And I need to be careful, I think, to make sure that I don't do what I usually do, which is over research,
Oh, yeah.
you know, paralysis by analysis
Yeah.
type, and get to the point where it's like, okay, it's time to send some, actually get this thing going, get the ball rolling, send them out.
It's so that's so cool. I think it's great that you just did your own spreadsheet, because what I find with if I buy a spreadsheet, I'm sort of contorting myself, my information to fit their fields. And so it's not, I think if you make your own, it's sort of organic, you can just put in what you think is important, and then it tracks what you think is important, which is the whole point, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's really great. And I think you've got a long, long list of possibilities. I saw it. Remember, it's 3 pages,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. I shared it.
It's
Um,
pretty wild.
yeah,
Um,
I was surprised. I was really surprised.
I'm
And
impressed. Where'd you get that list? Just on the
I,
web?
actually, it was just stuff that over the years, I've been wanting to apply for different grants. I have applied for different grants, different fellowships. And if I, just in my sort of travels around the internet and meeting people, if something comes up, I'll make note of it and save it somewhere.
Yeah, that's smart.
And so it's, so that list is me looking in the attic,
Yeah, cool.
just sort of say, okay, what's here? And I was surprised by how much I was able to find. And I feel like when you get more into a deeper thinking process about the niches,
Mhm.
different topic areas
Yeah.
that either I touch in my work, or that, touches, something that I do, there's probably more opportunities, right?
Yeah.
So there's the science writing piece that I do, but then within that, there's all sorts of specific areas that I work on.
Yeah.
So one of them being clinical trials, right? And
Ah,
reform clinical trials. So who are grantors who are putting out money for people who are writing about that kind of stuff?
very cool.
And then narrative nonfiction is
Mm.
like a big category, but within that category, there's different things that I've, worked on. So like Holocaust, Abraham Lincoln Brigade, or, what have you, and trying to figure out, okay, who would be interested in this and has it as their mission to try and fund.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can come at it from 2 directions. One, see, I think that's great. I think it's the fact that you've gathered these grant sources over time means that you're probably aware of ones that I'm not ever going to be aware of. Not that we would compete for the same ones necessarily, but because I'm using lists that are currently being published about grant opportunities, stuff that every other creative person who wants a grant is looking at, whereas you've got some deeper research that's come to your attention of stuff that isn't on those lists probably.
Well, yeah, and I wouldn't accuse myself of being smart or intentional.
Yeah, purely accidental.
It's really
Serendipity.
accidental, and oh, there's might be some money.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, it's easy to set a link aside and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I think too, and I want to point out is that we have in each other accountability partners.
Mm,
And so I've found stuff that you're like, wow, and you're doing stuff that is blowing me away with your intentionality and the way that you're thinking about it and processing it from a really different perspective than I normally have.
yeah.
I think that so yeah, that sharing piece. I think if there's like a big recommendation for people who are listening to this, it would be one, get somebody who also wants to do this and try and figure out a way to do it together.
Yeah. Partner up or even just join us.
Even better.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think it'll be very interesting.
One of the things that I've noticed is part of this other project, for my ghostwriting, trying to increase my ghostwriting profile, I needed to
Mhm.
come up with a much better bio and all
Yeah.
that. And so this has then helped me refine that even further. And it's surprising how hard writing your own bio is, and getting in this process, you're in a sense getting some feedback on how good your bio is. And so that allows you to update and make that better.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I hadn't been tracking, other than to post, put on one of my headings, was the cost or the fees associated with a grant, was really understanding the budget, and not so much setting a budget as it is how much am I spending, but not only what am I spending in terms of money, but what am I spending in terms of time?
Yeah.
So is $1,000 grant worth 10 hours or 5 hours even of trying to get all the materials together and go through all that hassle of,
Yeah. Only if you can reuse a lot of those materials, which is where I'm coming from at this first month of the experiment. Like if a grant then requires me to do interpretative dance and send in a video, I'm not going to do it.
No, I think you
But
should.
if I can reuse materials,
I
and
think, yeah, I mean, we could each you have to do interpretive jazz dance and do the Lindy.
Is that the one where you go under the?
No, that's the one where it's from the 20s where you're sort of down.
Okay, I'd pay to see that. Yeah, so I'm looking at your website now and I see your bio. That's the new one, right?
Yeah, I put 2 bios up now, kind of a personal bio and then more of a professional bio.
Okay, I'm looking at your professional bio. Okay, so, about James, that's your personal one. Is that a new one?
Yes.
Okay,
And so I don't know if it's any good.
well, I haven't read it, but I do have a note for you. So it's just got a grammatical error.
Of course.
Third paragraph.
That is so par for the course.
Basically says your parents were born in 1965 in Philadelphia. But
okay. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not good. So we're gonna fix that.
I'm such an asshole. We'll cut that part.
No, I think this is part of the process. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna really look at your professional bio. It's so daunting that I can't really steal any of it, but like I can't borrow some of your phraseology or layout, but I really, really think it's great.
Yeah, well, the intent, so this was I'm trying to expand the number of agencies that I'm pitching to. And so you have to get accepted by the agencies. And so they need a bio. And they want one right now. One thing that I have definitely learned this year is getting ghostwriting jobs as a beauty contest.
Yeah.
So I have to it's no longer so much about the quality of writing, experience, expertise, knowledge. It's more about, do you have the New York Times bestseller, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So I've got to figure out a way around that, which I have, because I have enough of a experience, but it's been complicated and hard and frustrating. But at the end of the day, I have a really much better bio that I can then repurpose to a lot of other uses. So there's a lot of value to that.
You do have a great bio. I'm just looking at the the flow of it, and it's fantastic.
So
okay, cool. Yeah, great. Thanks for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. What do you think? Are the benefits of what you have to do to make a grant application worth the amount of time they take? Do you have any advice? Let us know. We'd love to hear. Drop a note in the comments or send us an email to giftedunderachievers@substack.com. See you soon.